welcome to Serious About Rugby League. We're going to talk today about Toronto's start to life in Super League and whether we feel they can stay up. I'll come to you first, Paul. What have you made of their first, is it 6 fixtures? 6 Super League fixtures, yeah.
I think the biggest point is that the teams that they've played, I think they played last year's top 5 already. So they are at a tough start, and they would have known that, would have looked at it. I think up till probably the Saints game, I was quite confident for them, but obviously they were really poor against Saints, and obviously moving on to the Leeds game on Thursday, I thought pretty much performance like that was unacceptable in Super League. I think Brian McDermott said pretty much the same. I was really disappointed in Leeds. I was actually in a watching it with a big group of friends who aren't really rugby fans, saying, let's watch this, try and get them all converted to our game, and it wasn't really a great advert for the game, if I'm brutally honest. Leeds were fantastic, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They scored some scintillating tries. It's great to see Gale back doing what he does, but so I was quite worried on after Thursday night for them. They seemed to have lost a lot of spirit, and they were 40 points down. They were still throwing the ball about, thinking, no, get yourself back to 5 tackles to the kick, get yourself back. You're not going to win the game, but at least try and maybe win the second half, something like that. Didn't seem to do that, but I was quite pleased to see Brian McDermott have a real go at them afterwards. Sometimes he paper over crass. There was none of that. So yeah, I think the jury's definitely mixed so far.
Well, you've touched on what went wrong there, Paul. What do you think actually needs to change, Jack? Because you're looking at, I've seen quite a few people say, look, they've got a few good talented players in there, but they have got a few, let's just say, a championship team. Is that accurate?
To a certain extent. You look at that roster, and I think this is where we could talk for days and days about the whole salary cap, situation, stuff like that. And the fact that they are really struggling for players depth. Ahead of their Challenge Cup fixture with Huddersfield on Wednesday, they've only named 19 players. They've named a squad of 19, 2 of which are Joe Mellor and Darcy Lussick, who are meant to be out with fairly long-term injuries, for multiple weeks. And you're trying to compete in the top level of British Rugby League with a paper-thin squad, and it's just not going to work. You've got players in that squad. John Wilkin, for example, is he's meant to have an operation. I can't remember what operation it is but on some sort of injury, and he's putting off that operation just so he can keep playing, and so he doesn't have to have the recovery time.
I think you could tell that a little bit the other night as well when you watched him.
No, exactly.
So what can they do about this situation? It seems like
it's such a strange one. I think for Toronto, the key is just getting that first win. Because I think that first win will give them the confidence to think, we actually could do this. We can compete in Super League, and until that happens, they're just going to be written off by, by fans, by spectators, by anyone else, looking from the outside in, and that's got to have some sort of effect on the players. You can have a coach who tells you every week, this week it's happening, boys, this week it's happening, but until it does, you're going to have a team that's low on confidence. And that are doubting themselves, and that's not at all the kind of attitude you need to have in Super League, because it can be so cutthroat at times that I think realistically we're looking at them and Hull KR probably as the favourites for relegation. So their target needs to be just to get as many points over KR as they possibly can. Now you look at realistic chances of that happening as it stands; they're not very high. I think the true test, and we'll get a clearer picture of that when they start playing home games back in Toronto at the Lamport Stadium. So once that happens, once they start playing games at home, we can possibly judge the performances a bit more accurately, and see what they're like when they're at home in front of their own fans, in front of the Canadians, and what kind of show they're going to put on there. Because I think when we watched them in the Championship and in League One, that is where they probably were most dominant.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that first win is so vital for them.
Crucially.
That first win is so vital.
So talking about that first win, we've got the next 6 games here on the Challenge Cup game at Huddersfield aside. The next 6 Super League games. First they've got Wakefield, which is a home game, but it's at Bootham Crescent in York. They're then away to Huddersfield, then away to Catalans on Good Friday, and then they play their first home game against Hull FC on April the 18th. Before they face Wigan and Saints at home now. First of all, Paul, there's 3 away games. Obviously the Wakefield game is class as a home game, but 3 away games against Wakefield, Huddersfield and Catalans, can you realistically see them getting a win before they go back to Canada?
It's really hard because, I mean, obviously they look so poor against Leeds. I mean, how are they going to, I mean, first of all, they're playing on Wednesday night, and how are they going to turn that around in 2 weeks of performance like that? I mean, they need bodies, really, don't they? They need more bodies. I think they got Gigo in. I mean, it really hasn't worked at the moment with Gigo. He seems to be error prone. It certainly doesn't look like the guy who won the Lance Todd Trophy 18 months ago.
I think he's rusty, to be fair.
Yeah,
I think you've got to put that down to Gigo. He's not had a pre-season any club, and he's come in and as a bit of a what's the word? A plan B.
Yeah.
If that's the
He's
right
not
phrase.
fit into the structure. I don't think he can have an excuse about not having a pre-season because he's been trying to get a club, hasn't he? But he hasn't fit into the structure.
But at the same time, in that pre-season, it's not just finding your fitness back, but it is, like you said, fitting into that structure and getting to know your teammates. And he's sort of been thrown in there to do that within a couple of weeks. So
it is worth remembering though.
tough on him,
I mean, obviously, I think Hull KR went to Leeds and shipped 50 points. Was it? They Leeds got to 50.
Yeah.
So they're not the only team that's struggling. No. You know what? The Toronto that played at Wigan and at Salford within like 65 minutes were within a score still of winning the game. They could certainly beat Wakefield in 2 weeks' time. I mean, I could forgive them. I could forgive them the Saints defeat because any team could lose badly against Saints, especially coming. I think they were off the back of the World Club Challenge. But I mean, that Leeds game was a real horror show. I think I've always supported them. I've always wanted to see them do well. Toronto, I think I got quite a bit of a shock when I saw them. But they have got a Super League winning coach. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see them. Certainly put up a show against Wakefield, but I've said before, the key's really going to be at home. I mean, obviously the Catalans game again, we don't know. That's only 4 weeks away. That could be behind closed doors. So that would give them half a chance. They wouldn't have to face the vociferous Catalans crowd there. Huddersfield are going well, but they lost badly last time they played at home. So you could give them half a chance, but I think it's all gonna plan to the games they've got at home.
Well, moving on to the home games, Jack. I think we've been speaking before we came on air about when they go back to Canada, go back to Lamport Stadium, and it's going to be vital for them that they hit the ground running there. Obviously, first up they've got 3 very tough games.
I was going to say it's one heck of a baptism of fire back at home, and a whole team who've recruited possibly the strongest out of anyone in Super League. With some real gun players, Jake Connor, Albert Kelly. List goes on. Wigan, who again, well as it stands now, are top of the league, arguably the most impressive side so far this season. Again, gun players, Jackson Hastings, Bevan French, and then the current Super League champions. So it doesn't get any easier for them even when they go back home. But I think those 3 games they will be the ones where they are looking to show what they're about to that home crowd. And I think they need to at least put in, if they don't get wins, they need to put in respectable performances, if nothing else, to keep that crowd coming back to watch them and to keep that crowd supporting them.
Yeah.
Because I think you've got to think they're only a team that are they 4 years old now? Is their 4th year? That's what I'm right in saying.
That's all it is.
So you've got fans there that some of them will have only been watching rugby league for a matter of months, maybe. And if they've got this team that has suddenly gone from winning every game to losing every game, you wouldn't blame those fans for suddenly thinking, oh, actually, we're not. I'm not a huge fan of this anymore. And I'm not coming here to watch the team I'm supporting getting hammered every week. So I think it's vital for them that they do start at least putting in those respectable performances against those clubs when they're at home. But for me, if they're going to win any of these next 6 games that we've looked at, it's going to be on the team that they're playing underestimating them. That is the way they're going to win for me. If I'm honest, I can't see them beating Hull, Wigan or Saints at home. I think that's too big of an ask for me.
Well, we'll come on to that because I think the other thing that we haven't talked about yet is obviously on home soil, Toronto are probably going to be a little bit more improved.
You'd hope so.
With the crowd behind them, but then the other aspect which you've touched on there is the other teams going over there. Now obviously there's the travel, it's not like going from here to France, it's obviously across the pond over pretty much on the other side of the world, so I don't know whether they're actually going to benefit massively from that though compared to previous seasons, because the championship sides part-time, a lot of them, lads been working through the week. These, like so Hull, Wigan and St Helens, they're going to prepare properly, they're going to get their players right going over there, they're going to have everything planned. And we spoke about when, I mean, I've been over there and I didn't really feel like I'm not a player.
I've never been to Toronto myself, but I know you have. You know, it's obviously different when you're actually, you know, when you're a professional athlete. But what was it like in terms of, you know, did you get jet lagged at all? Did you feel a bit more tired? Did you feel a bit lethargic, or was it
well,
just
obviously you don't feel 100%, but I honestly didn't feel jet lagged when I got there. It was coming back when you really start to feel it, and you've got to. And I'm not on a strict diet or anything, as these players are going to be on a strict regime, who are going to be disciplined. So these lads are going to have it right, and I think the Super League teams are going to do it right going over there. They're all going to be prepared. I'm not saying not every team is going to do it exactly right, because it's a test, isn't it, when you go over there. I think Lee Radford said the Catalan swing took teams a few years to really get it right going over there, working out what worked best for them to go over the night before, to go over 2 nights before, or on the day. So, but I don't think there's much choice with this. You've got to go over quite a few days before, and you're probably going to get at least 1 or 2 days over there before you play the game. So I think
it's time to acclimatise, time to get used to conditions.
It's just a pitch. I think the pitch could be a big thing though. It's a 4G.
Well, that's in 4G.
I think because obviously again it took clubs a while to get used to the wooden pitch. London did quite. I mean, London beat Saints twice last year, didn't they? There's certain players like the Catalans go there. I would imagine Tompkins won't play. There's certain. I mean, Lomax didn't play for Saints on the pitch. There's certain players who could be injury prone who won't go over there. I've mentioned before. I interviewed Corey Patterson, and he was on about the it's the things that turn your head. That there's a lot of distractions over there for the players that are going over there. I mean, obviously, you've been in. You know the time didn't affect. But I think that the feedback he got was the time difference could be a little bit of a factor. But I think more than anything it could be the pitch. And I like I say, obviously, you think the fans, you know, if they're getting beat every week, they struggle to stay with the team. But I think they'll market these 3 games well, isn't it? Basically, we're playing 3 of the top teams in Super League, so you know, I think they'll be able to sell out the ground. I think definitely playing at home, especially in week 1 against Hull, the players will get a massive lift. I think that the town will be buzzing. It's a mad sports city. They're still the current NBA champions as well. So the city is sports mad. They're playing all the main American leagues they're playing. So I couldn't sit there and say they'll win that one, or that one. I think they'll win one of those 3. I said at the start I thought they'd win 8 or 9 at home. I've said that. Obviously seen them. I think I'd probably put that down to maybe 7 or 8. But I couldn't. I honestly do think this is going to be a big distraction. I think home advantage. It's particularly obviously the whole game they'll have played Catalans the week before. They've gone over. The actual travel won't be much of an advantage. But by the time they play Wigan and Saints, they'll have been there for 2 weeks. Wigan and Saints will have played the week before. They'll have players that are carrying knocks. So they're going to want players that are carrying knocks sat on a plane for 7-8 hours and then playing rugby, and more importantly than that, flying back and having to play the week after as well. You know, obviously, you know, we're sat in economy when we fly to Toronto. Maybe some players will go with a bit more comfort than that, but I just think the distractions there, and I really do think the players are going to get a lift from this. So I'd like to say I couldn't say they'll beat Hull, they'll beat Wigan, they'll beat Saints. I certainly think they'll win one of those 3.
So let's finish up. I've got a few quick questions. Try to keep the answers brief if you can. Those 3 home games, those 3 away games in the next 3 weeks in Super League. How many wins?
I think they'll get one from there.
Which one?
That's right.
On the spot.
It's hard to say. I think they can beat Wakefield. Right. I think this 2 weeks.
I think that's their best chance.
I think Brian Mackle really got into them. I think they can beat Wakefield.
And the 3 home games that follow Hull, Wigan, Saints.
No. I don't think they'll get any wins out of those 3.
So from their 11 home games, oh no, there'll be more than that, won't there?
They'll play 11 They play 11 at Lamport, won't they?
Right, is that right?
Yeah, I think I'm fairly certain that's right.
We'll check We've done our research.
We'll check that
out. So how many wins do you think they'll get at home then?
I think they'll get 7. I think that'll be enough.
4 or 5.
And finally, will Toronto stay up?
Yeah, like I said, I think they've lost. They've lost to 6, but I think they'll be over the moon. The fact there's 2 teams that are only 2 points ahead of them. So yes, I think they'll get enough wins to stay above one of them 2.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not convincing, but I'll say
I'll
yes.
say.
I think, like we've said, the two teams in danger, I think, are them and Hull KR. So if they can claim a couple of decent scalps, Hull KR I think are going to struggle. I think that Hull KR have been hit by injuries, possibly to the same extent, if not worse than Toronto. So I think that'll play a big factor. I think Toronto will just edge it to Sale.
I think that this is it's quite a difficult question, but if Toronto, how big is the season for Toronto? Because if they do
Huge.
go down, what will happen? Will they rebuild and come back up, or you've got to I suspect that would be the case.
You'd imagine so.
I think there's only one person that can answer that question, and that's obviously the owner, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think, well, we could say Sonny Bill would stay there, we could say Brian Mack would stay there, but at the end of the day, the money would have to stay there. He's gonna have to refund, and would the fans keep going to the stadium and watch Championship Rugby after they've watched Super League? I'm not so sure. So basically, I think literally we'd have to bankroll a team to win the Championship again.
As it stands, I think we're looking at a team that's trying to run before they can walk.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
They've had such high ambitions and have found it quite easy, for being honest, in League One and the Championship. They didn't. It took them 2 seasons to get out of the Championship, but I think their ambitions are that high, and they're aiming for so much straight away. It's a completely different kettle of fish going to Super League than it is the Championship or League One, in terms of standard. And I think their ambitions are too lofty compared to where they are actually at as a team and a club and a franchise, and I think they need to work on establishing themselves as just a Super League team, not necessarily a competitive Super League team, but just a Super League team that you can almost guarantee is going to be, might still be down in sort of the relegation area, but you'd back them to kick out enough to be able to avoid relegation and establish themselves a mid-table side, and until they do that, until they have that mindset of just establishing themselves, I think they'll struggle.
Obviously, Catalan's got dispensation, didn't they, when they first come in the league?
Of course,
they didn't finish bottom, didn't they? But obviously they did. I think Witness went down.
Do you think Toronto should have been given that?
Well, personally, I don't think it's. I don't see the point in expansion and then relegation. I don't see the point in it. If you're going to expand, if we're going to expand the league, if we're going to have Toronto win, that's another argument. I'm a yes, but there's plenty of no's. I don't see the point in bringing them up and then sending them straight back down again. I said the same to London last year. To be brutally honest, it just doesn't make any sense. If you're going to expand, you expand. You don't expand and then reduce.
Yeah.
So for
the position we're in now, do they need to be given more dispensation? Is that really where
I think it's too late now. I think we're into the season already. I think the decision's been made. You can't just get halfway through a season and suddenly say, "Oh no, we're not allowing that team to go down."
Right. Okay.
I think London got more.
Can you imagine the backlash that?
I can see, but
especially from like Hull KR fans, for example.
To be fair, I tend to agree with Jack. If I'm honest, I think it is probably too late now. I think if you said should they have got it, yeah, definitely. I think you've got to play players more to go and spend 16 weeks of the year in Toronto, especially the married guys. So yeah, they should have got it. But I tend to agree with Jack there. That's a fair point. It's probably too late now.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Some interesting thoughts there on Toronto. Want to, particularly from any Toronto fans watching this, let us know what you think of your side so far. Whether you think you'll pick up when you go back to Canada. How many home wins do you think you'll get, and what do you think's a life in Super League? And what to say from other fans too of other clubs? What do you like about Toronto being in the league? Should they be given dispensation? Please let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.